Hey everybody, Randy Fox. It's great to be with you, whether you're live or you're watching this on one of the channels after we posted. Thanks for joining us as we continue our conversation about creating a culture of excellence. Really, that's what we want for your team and in your life, is to create a culture of excellence. And we're just excited as we're continuing this, if you will, virtual book tour, where we're highlighting different aspects from my brand new, just released book, Silver Platter Service: How to Create a Culture of Excellence. It's getting amazing reviews all around the United States from all types of teams, organizations, corporations, nonprofits, school districts. People that are retired have come up to me and said, wow, I wish I had read this 30 years ago. So why don't you read it? Now we'll have opportunities for you to pick up discounted copies. But we're excited today to be talking a little bit more about what you can do to create a culture of excellence. And specifically today, we're going to be talking about why and what. Why is a really important question that needs to be asked. And then what are we going to do to achieve that why? It's critical, it's important. And as I've said many times before, we don't create a culture of excellence by ourselves. And so as we're going to be doing from time to time, I'm excited today to have a guest with us all the way from Los Angeles, California area. And I'm going to be bringing him in now. It is the Maestro, my brother, in full disclosure, Steven Allen Fox.
Hello. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on today. This is going to be fun. Thanks.
It's going to be great. So I'm in Florida, he's in California, and wherever you are in between joining us, thanks for being with us today. If you're just coming on, want to highlight again, we're going to be talking today. Steve and I are going to be breaking down some aspects about talking about the why and what of your team, how to create a culture of excellence by truly understanding why. And then what are you going to do to get there? You know, one of those elements, Steve, that is really important is that I think a lot of people don't always agree with decisions that are being made. They ask the question, why are we doing this? I don't understand. And I know you've had a lot of different experiences as a conductor, a leader, a member of many different boards for nonprofits and a variety of other things that you've done in the music world, but you know, even the things that you have done in teams with your family and bands and working in retail and your wife being an educator, you're around a tremendous number in different types of teams. Share a little bit about your philosophy and perspective on the why and how it's so important for teams as they're trying to create excellence.
Well, first of all, I want to say that we're connecting this country coast to coast right now.
Yeah.
We're in a political year, and look, people can come together. So we're an example of what things
literally on opposite sides.
That's right. So getting to your question. So yeah, I work in primarily nonprofits because, in this country, for music organizations to be successful, typically they have to be able to go after sponsorships and grants and donations and offer people tax exemptions. So I work in the nonprofit realm mostly. I'm the president and founder of the Golden State Pops Orchestra. I'm the president of the South Bay Music Association. And then in addition to that, I conduct orchestras and music ensembles and bands. And, specifically with the board of directors that I'm the president of both of them, it's crucial. The board of directors has to be on the same page. They have to have a consensus around why the organization exists. They have to be able to articulate that to people. And I've seen from experience over the years that when a board doesn't have that cohesive thought, that cohesive idea as to why the organization exists, which I think a lot of people think of for nonprofits as the cause that you are trying to raise money for, if they don't have an idea of what that is as a group, they just start creating their own. It might be in the same area, but it's going in different directions. And you find that as you move forward, suddenly you're having difficulties raising money. And you're wondering, well, why aren't we raising any money? Or why is it so low? Or why did we hire this development director to go raise money for us? And they're coming back to us saying, I don't have enough of a foundation to raise money on. People are asking me, they're confused about, well, what do they need money for that? Why do they need that? And what's this? And I have found that if the board doesn't give clear direction to their staff, to their volunteers, to the people that are going out there, including themselves, trying to raise money and awareness and find volunteers to help, if they can't clearly articulate, this is why we exist, and it may be 1, 2, or 3 points behind it, but if they can't say that to people, then nobody wants to support them. And
you're saying this idea that why we exist, you have to clearly, and I think that's really important. So I want to reiterate that for all of our tribe here following and watching, clearly articulating why you exist, unpacking the vision, clearly articulating that, not taking 25 minutes or 2.5 hours. You know, some people call it the elevator pitch, right? Can you, in 20 seconds, tell me why you exist? And if, like you're saying, if the leadership can't do that, how can you ever expect followers, employees, team members to be on board and have any chance of excellence if the leadership can't? Now, once the leadership can, then we can move it further down. But I think that's so important. They have to be able, we all have to be able to say clearly why we exist. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but if somebody says to me, well, Randy, why do you do what you do? Say, you know what? I want to turn everyday people into superstar leaders. That's it. That's why I exist as a keynote speaker and a coach and an author, because when people apply these things, they become more influential to do better work. That's turning everyday people into superstar leaders. What's your phrase? What's the line? What's the purpose to the why? I love that. I think it's really important. Keep going.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, that doesn't mean that everybody's ultimate vision for why they're doing what they're doing with an organization or why that organization exists. It doesn't mean that every single person is going to feel like their top reason for why that organization exists has become the company's reason. What it is can they buy into it? Does it find a connection to their passion enough that they can say, because everybody else agrees with that, I'm not sacrificing. I'm simply shifting my perspective because I can get behind that with everybody, because together we're going to make a more successful organization than if I stick to my guns and say, it must be the way that I think it looks. And when that consensus is made, then all of a sudden great things start to happen and people start to want to be a part of it, and they start to understand why they're being asked, in the case of a nonprofit, to give money or to do what they're doing. You know, with the Golden State Pops Orchestra years ago, we did a board retreat and we had a specialist come in and work with us. And as the founder of the company, he looked at me and he said, you know, other than conducting the orchestra, Steve, you have one main priority to this company, and that is to give this board of directors a reason for being here. You're the founder. Whenever a founder is involved, there's a certain leniency given to that founder for saying, what's your vision? And the board wants to back it. But if you're not articulating that to them, if you're not communicating that to them, then they don't know why they're there and you don't get the most of it. So I've experienced it where I'm a leader trying to make a board come to an agreement. I've also been a leader where I'm saying, here's what I think we should do. And then they back it. In both cases, it's about communication. It's about finding something people can get passionate about and really move forward with it, so that then when you say to people, this is what we do, it makes sense. You know, with the South Bay Music Association, we have free community band concerts. Well, in the past, the free aspect of those concerts was not really a big talking point. We've realized recently it's a free concert that costs money to put on. That actually means something. That's actually something people can want to support. So now we've made that a more important aspect of the what we do that fulfills the why, which is providing the community with a lifetime of music opportunities. And that includes coming to free music concerts or performing in them if they're a musician who wants to perform in it. And it's amazing when you find that kernel that somebody goes, that's it. And suddenly motivation and passion is not a problem. Then the problem becomes corralling everybody's energy into let's do this together because they just all want to take off. And it's an exciting moment when you actually feel that happen.
Yeah, and I think when you, and I liked how you moved, from the why, right? The why is our purpose, right? It's the mission, it's the vision of where we're headed, what we're going to do, right? And what service we're going to deliver, right? Because we have people that will watch this from a variety of types of backgrounds and organizations all around the country, different size teams. They may be the leaders setting the why. They may just be one that is participating in the what to deliver the why. I say to people all the time, though, and we actually unpack it, shameless plug here in the book. One of the things that we say is we dive deep into the fact that something that really never does change should be the why. Unless you're completely changing the organization, the why is who you really are and what you're in and what you're all about. The methods might change, but the mission really doesn't. Unless you're totally changing the organization. I think too many people are fluidly moving around where their why needs to be focused. They're at it. And like you were saying, I wanted to just reinforce something. You were talking about the fact that not everybody's going to agree all the time with the why or even some of the what steps. But if we can get people to understand it to a place of acceptance, that's how you have consensus. Consensus does not mean agreement. It means that I'm unified and I buy in to where we're going and what we're doing. I understand it. I accept it. I'm on board. And I think people get confused with that. And, well, I have to agree. We're not asking people to agree. And when you're trying to get everybody to agree, I think that's why we see so much divide in our country, right? It's not about agreeing. It's about finding the common ground, as you said, the consensus to move forward.
Yeah, a thought I have off of what you were saying about the why, and that's the part of it that shouldn't change. I do want to throw out a thought about that. Other than the fact that maybe the entire organization is changing its platform, and that's why the why might need to change. There are times where an organization feels like, well, wait a minute, we've lost where we're going. We've lost ourselves, and many times. That's because I think, from my experience, one of three reasons. One, the times have changed, and the reason you existed before has become irrelevant. So that might force you to have to rethink what the organization is about and kind of change the perspective of the organization.
Sure.
Because you're no longer relevant. A second reason, maybe you've gotten so overwhelmed by the what that you've forgotten why you're actually doing it, and you need to take a step back and revisit the why, and you might suddenly realize we're doing a whole bunch of things that don't even help us. And that's why we're overwhelmed. And so you readdress that aspect of what's been happening. And the third one is you have a group of people who have blurred the vision. There has made you lose sight of it. So it's not that anything bad has happened. These are all things that happen to companies all the time. Somebody, though, the person in charge at some point needs to say, wait a second, let's take a step back. Okay, either we've become irrelevant, we've lost our way in the forest for the trees because we've overwhelmed ourselves with work, or we've been talking so much that we've confused ourselves and blurred the vision of why we're actually here. And, I have found that every few years you have that talk, kind of reassess things and answer those questions. Sometimes you find out no change is needed and you just keep moving forward. Sometimes you find out there's some hard work we need to do here, but that's the work that actually makes the rest of it a little bit easier if you actually take the time to do it.
Yeah, and I think, we talked about this a couple of sessions ago. We were talking about change, right? And the importance that people need to change and change is something that should always be happening in how the organization is running, maybe some of the methodologies, the different things that are happening. It's that higher level, though, that real high why, that if that's changing every other month, you have no chance.
Right.
That has to be like a compass. Set it to north, and now how we get there, that could change course, but we're not changing, our destination over that long haul. And I think it's those things like you're saying, when you're being clear about it as a team, and people can clearly articulate the why, and then they're willing to make the changes necessary to the what to come together, for consensus. Because what you're really saying, and I don't like to go negative very often in talking, so I'm going to try to spin this positively, but you're making me think about the fact that so many people want to win the conversation or whatever it might be, that they're losing sight that let's stay focused on our why. Let's stay together on a team to get there. And any person's win would never come above the team winning. The team always comes first. And therefore, because most of the time when there's not success, it's because somebody is trying to win an argument that doesn't even need to be having. And we've lost sight of the team. And then therefore we've lost sight of the why.
Yeah. And there's that app out there called Masterclass, and you buy a subscription, you can watch all these different business people and artists and athletes masterclasses talking about how they do what they do, how you can be successful, things. When I watched Bob Iger's from Disney, something I learned from there that I've implemented into leading these different boards, and I think it's really helped, and it relates to this, is once you come up with that why, that singular reason you exist, what really makes it easier to know the what part of it and to keep everybody focused is to pick what he calls the three pillars. There could be 4, there could be 5. Really, you don't want to go more than that because it becomes too difficult. But over the next 3 to 5 years, what are the 3 specific things that we want to fulfill that make that why achievable? And then everything you choose to do and every decision you make must fulfill one of those pillars. If it's not, then it's not the right time to be doing that. And by having those in place, it makes the why, which can sometimes be just a very conceptual thing. It's not tangent. It's a concept of what you'd like to do. The pillars are real. They are things that when you talk to somebody, we believe, for instance, with the South Bay Music Association, we believe everyone deserves a lifetime of music, and make that possible through free community concerts, scholarships for students, and mini grants for teachers. Those are our 3 pillars to fulfill the why. And every decision we make then is related to one of those things. If it's not, then that either means we're being asked to change the company, or we shouldn't be doing it until we've moved on to forming new pillars.
There you go. I got it scrolling across the bottom. So it's the why. I love that. The why supported by 3 pillars as an example, and everything you must address one of those 3 pillars. Right. And it's so clear. See, when you understand your why and everything that supports it, what you do becomes clear, because you shouldn't be doing anything that doesn't touch one of the pillars that supports the why. Well, no, I think we should be over here. You know what? That might be a great idea, but that doesn't fit our current strategy, our why, our pillars. And I think that that's what really keeps teams from being excellent, because they're trying to be everything. And this is really a message today about when you focus on your why, you come together as a team with a common ground, not agreement, but consensus, as you said, buy-in. You then have the opportunity to truly create, the culture of excellence. Hey, if there's anybody that's on with us live here and you've got any questions you want to pop up there, now would be a great time. Steve, it's amazing how fast this time rolls, and we're bantering back and forth. Any final thoughts here on the why, the what, the pillars, the common ground of creating a culture of excellence?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously what we've talked about is I don't want to just recap what we already talked about, but I want to kind of give you a different perspective. Besides being a president of these boards, my main job for my career is being an orchestra and band conductor. And I truly believe that if business people were to spend some time watching great conductors in rehearsal and going to concerts or watching them on YouTube, but with a thought in mind of not listening to the enjoyment of the music, watching what they're doing and why they're doing it, the lessons you learn from this are amazing. Because at the end of the day, the difference between most business situations and music situations is music is immediate and the leader is working with their group in the moment. A conductor is on the podium giving nonverbal communication, showing their interpretation of the music to the musician, which is the why of why they're there. And the musicians are the what, creating the sound. And it's an instantaneous return. You immediately know the outcome of your product, which is not created by you as the leader. It's created by the people in front of you. And if it's not working, you have to figure out why in the moment and change it, fix it, do what's necessary to make that moment for the audience rise to a higher level. And it's happening at the exact same time. I'm not giving a directive and then waiting a week and seeing what the product was. It's happening in real time. And what's amazing is to give people an idea of if you want to call it the stress that a professional musician works under. A basketball player can make 70% of their free throws and be considered a great free throw shooter or acceptable free throw shooter. Would you pay money to go to a professional orchestra where they only played 70% of the notes correct?
No way.
That team, when you think about it now, you're going to an orchestra concert, a rock concert, whatever it is, you're hearing music performed what is being perceived as pristine, flawless. And that team of people is creating that product while you watch them do it. If a business person can't learn from that, then they're not paying attention to what's happening in front of them. It's an amazing moment.
And I think that's such a great, closing point for us today that, maybe you are in an environment, right, where what happens is instantaneous. Maybe somebody is in an environment where they're a teacher and what they do with students, virtual or in person, it's instantaneous, right? It's like a conductor. But for those people that might be implementing a strategy in an organization or something what if they had the sensitivity to be so aware of their team and what was happening, like a conductor is, right? Like even like a coach is, though, while the game is being played, to be so aware about what's happening with your team members and your teammates, right? Whether it doesn't matter what sport you look at, if it's the quarterback or the star player on a basketball floor, but if you think about a quarterback right now, we're in football season, they're so aware of what's happening instantaneously on the field. What if you're a teammate out there watching this? Are you that aware? Are you that sensitive to what's happening around you, to the emotions, to the performance? When you talk about the why and the what, there is this underlying awareness. Is everybody on the same page of music, right? As you're talking about, is everybody responding to what's happening? Is the leader attuned to keeping people focused, to the why? And, we could go on, as we do many times, on the phone, we could go on for hours on this, but I'm hoping, that our viewers have gotten something out of this. I would be surprised if they hadn't, because especially this last perspective, start thinking of yourself as either the conductor or one of the musicians, and the type of music that you want to have right now with the team. It's not about one person standing out. It's about the perfect blend of different instruments coming together to create something beautiful so that your end user, your client, your student, your community has been impacted positively because you are creating a culture of excellence. My friends, we dive into this, and we're going to be continuing to have these live sessions and sometimes have special guests. There's certainly opportunities to get more of this. This is what my keynotes and virtual sessions are all based on. It's all coming from this new book. There's a scroll happening right now on the bottom of the page. That scroll has my website, a discount code called Randy Live. You'll get 20% off your order. It's cheaper on my website than it is on Amazon. Plus, I sign all the books. I'd love to get them in your hands for your team. Continue this conversation. How can we help you transform your team into a culture of excellence? And Steve, thanks for your time today, all of the insights that you gave. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of your listeners out there that are going to just be as excited as well. And everybody, do something with what you've heard today. Take an action step. Hearing it and going, wow, that was good is great, but that's not enough. You need to take an action step. You need to say, here's how I'm going to apply this and take an action. Maybe it's buying the book. Maybe it's having another conversation. Maybe it's holding a team meeting. Maybe it's bringing in somebody from the outside. Maybe it's creating a retreat because everybody's exhausted from not being together and having life as normal. What can you do? What will you do to create a culture of excellence today? It's about clearly understanding the why, keeping everybody on the same page for the what, and as Steve just said, really being aware to what the team members are doing in real time so that you can have literally instant results of excellence. Well, Steve, that's it for our time today. You got a final word for everybody?
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that sounds great. We'll see everybody real soon. And remember, as I always say, the world's waiting for you. Go create a culture of excellence. See y'all real soon.